All right, up next is a question that we all really want to answer. Effectiveness used to sound so simple. Did the campaign work, or did it drive positive results? Today, the answer is far more layered, with AI changing how campaigns are built, measured, and optimized. Marketers are being asked to balance performance, creativity, innovation, and long-term business impacts all at once. And to discuss what marketing effectiveness really means nowadays, please welcome our moderator, Mr. Mijak Karam Belkar, Managing Director, Publicist of Group B Constellation of Vietnam. Please welcome. Up next, let's welcome our distinguished panelist, Mr. Bapol Chava, Marketing Director of Heineken Vietnam, Ms. Anh Dung, Senior Sales Director, Double Verified, Ms. Sophia Nguyen, Head of Digital Marketing BYD of Vietnam, Ms. Nguyễn Trần Thanh Thủy, Head of Marketing Communications, Mobile Flagship Samsung Electronics Vietnam. Please welcome to the stage.
This is the culprit, this is the wrong one that Suri cautioned us about. Good morning, everyone. Marketing effectiveness is, it's a very sensitive and a tricky subject. Whenever this comes up, the first instinct is to check who's asking, right? Whether it's CFO, or the CEO, or the sales head, or procurement. Because to each of them, it matters. They view it very differently. For the CEO, it's about overall growth. For sales, it's about leads, developing the sales pipeline. CAC, CRC, procurement looks at it from an efficiency angle. So it matters very differently, but it matters to all, right? And that makes you ponder that, effectiveness is supposed to be very straightforward. It's supposed to be the same to all. But then you realize that, the reason for these different lenses is because marketing today sits at the intersection of it all, right in the center of business growth, brand building, customer experience, innovation, AI, and all of it. And that's why this session becomes even more important to talk about and to figure out at a slightly broader, at a zoomed out level as to what's marketing effectiveness really doing. And we're glad to have a diverse panel today. Three different kinds of businesses, which will bring a very different perspective on what marketing effectiveness to all their organizations and to their teams need. And we also have somebody who's an industry watchdog of sorts, who's also bringing in new optimization and tech solutions to see that their effectiveness could be better. So just the first and the warm-up round of sorts. You all have very diverse businesses. What does marketing effectiveness really mean to you? Yeah. Start with you.
Can we do it like this? Good morning, everyone. Really honored to be here and being able to share some of the discussions with the panel. I definitely agree that it depends a lot who in our organization you ask about marketing effectiveness, how much the expectations differ. But if you ask me, I think it's relatively simple. It's just marketing's ability to drive commercial outcome. Whether it's brands and business positive outcomes.
Thanks for the question. I think for me, coming from the lens of someone who worked in advertising technology, marketing effectiveness is pretty much removing the friction between creative output versus the delivery until the brand gets the human attention. And then what I mean by that is that I think we are in a using space in the digital landscape where there's just so much changing. AI is pumping so much content right now. And I think across the board, we're having somewhat of what I like to call an attention crisis, right? So it's never been easier for a brand to kind of achieve massive reach and scale for any advertising campaign. But then the important question is, does your message actually fit with the audience in the right place where they can actually see the ads and they're in the position to understand and reciprocate the brand message? So I think that the day marketing effectiveness is ensuring that the brand can have the brand message can have a fair, safe, stable opportunity to be seen by a real and aware consumer.
So good morning, everyone. I think, in my opinion, there are some differentiation between the marketing effectiveness 5 or 10 years ago comparing with now. Like before that, sometimes we can see there's very mass, the big campaign with the big TVC on a very mass scale. So and then we measure by the marketing KPI index. But the time is very different now. And I am from Samsung and from the mobile industry. So sometimes it's go very fast, and the marketing effectiveness right now, I think, is like a full journey from the awareness into the consideration, and even though for the conversion. And it should be like the full, the CEG from end to end. And for the KPI, it should be measured from awareness into the conversion. So it will provide like the full insight and the full KPI measurement, even though if you talk just about the awareness only, or if you just talk about the marketing KPI only, so it's not enough for the current situation of all the commercial and all the business situation right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Sophia from INNOVATE. Yeah, thank you for this question. So I'm really agree with Donald because for me, marketing effectiveness is just simple for the commerce impact, brand impact, and market impact. So for BYD, I think because we just come here more than nearly 2 years, right? So one, I believe that if for the marketer now because we have a blockbuster for the AI and everything changing a lot. And marketers have to register how to invest for the ROI many things. So for me, I think the effectiveness it has two for the whole stakeholder. The first for the commerce, absolutely. The second for for all stakeholders, dealer, our partner, and our consumer, and finally also for the agency. We say we are one in the one team, and how we invest fast and reap the true value for the market and customer. Yeah, this is my positive thinking.
Multiple stakeholder management is just what you spoke of, and there are multiple stakeholders within the organization too. We just wanted to check, how different are the questions today than they were a few years ago. So, what's the organization's expectation from marketing? What does marketing really, succeed in? How do they measure really marketing? Anybody? I'll ask you, what are marketers asking you, and what are you telling them to measure?
Advertisers. Well, I think there is, because right now, and I think we all hear a lot of AI, right? And what we're hearing a lot from our advertisers today is that they do have a hard time navigating the digital environment, so much AI. And of course, AI is great for a lot of things, right? AI is great for operational productivity. But at the same time, AI is also creating a lot of digital pollution. I think yeah, so for a brand, it's very hard to navigate because you're essentially running your campaigns and your ads into the wild world of the digital space out there, and there's so much like low quality content, AI slop. I was in Hong Kong last week chatting with clients of Cathay Pacific, one of our clients, and they were mentioning about the fact that they are having a really hard time managing AI slop content. So I don't know if you know about these trending AI like root love triangle content on the internet. So yeah, they have a hard time navigating that, and they need solutions to be able to help them to navigate and like avoid these content. So they don't have to be associated with low quality inventory, which eventually will affect the brand. I think that's one layer of what the brands are looking for, and then there's another layer of because AI is like very good operational, right? So we're also seeing a lot of I get traction with advertisers for AI optimization products. At DD, we have something called Static AI, which is essentially an AI optimization that can work with our platform. Yeah, so I think over the past 2 years when we acquired the company, we've also helped advertisers to optimize and cut a lot of costs in terms of the media budget, help them optimize campaign better. Yeah, so
So, there is a lot to be measured. I mean, that's one argument that a lot of us have, and a lot of us have some issues with it as to, the amount of measurability that's available. But how do you ascertain marketing success when it's not on dashboard, right? Or have you ever felt, out of your experiences, have you ever been in a situation where you feel that, listen, it's not showing up in one of these dashboards, but I can sense it. Maybe there's a different metric which is not measured the way conventional dashboards do. Is there marketing success beyond dashboards? Have you ever felt, and could you just help the audience understand where to spot it?
Yeah, I'll try to answer your first and the second question at the same time. But if I think in Heineken we're in a fortunate place, there's actually a quite established confidence and belief that marketing drives commercial results. So it's not that I'm continuously explaining that from a, let's say, purely principle point of view. And actually we see there's actually a change even more than before, where it's much more about long-term brand strength, the conversation, and how to deliver that. So very practically, for instance, since the past 2 years, our sales directors and managing directors have brand equity KPIs. So that really is the way you bring a system towards that actually really enables also the organization to have the right conversations instead of it being in marketing versus other functions today. And yeah, I do think there's maybe to your last question is there's parts that we can measure and parts that we will understand. And I think it is also a beauty that you will not know everything. And that's where the intuition, the magic, and the judgment comes in. And a company that has been building brands for a long time at least will have built up a good system of intuition and judgment.
I think as I will continue with my point of view in terms of the marketing effectiveness and how we can measure that one based on the experience like before, like 5 years ago and up to now. So like before that, so when we talk about marketing, we just talk about like awareness and then engagement, and last one coming to the conversion. And some of the KPI for the previous one is just about the awareness index. And I think for when we talk about the engagement, it's much more on the overall the total loss and then the conversation. But now I think that in the current way, with that many complex in terms of the challenging for the business situation, the measurement KPI, of course, we need to have that, but we need to change the way that we measure the KPI to make more have like the sense of like the consideration and the conversion. conversion. And this needs to link to the commercial. For example, before that we just talked about the marketing in terms of the awareness and then the overall for the conversation and then for the total cost. But up to now, it's sometimes that's some of the number is not like 100% of accuracy, and like people can make the incremental, but it's not the right data. So instead of the measure in terms of for the total cost, we can care about the quality cost. This means the conversation already created by the real content and the real conversation. And another example, for example, before that we just talked about the engagement, combining for the paid and then the organic. But now if we care more about the organic engagement rate, so it's one of the KPI that we can still have the KPI, but we can change the way that we can measure. And for some of the funnel, when we talk about the marketing investment and marketing funnel, so nail down and like more specific in terms of target audience to deliver right message to the right audience. Maybe smaller pool, but we will try more impact. So I think that is still the way that we can measure the deeper for the KPI, but still for the business objective.
So when you are a disruptor of sorts, right? You are a challenger in a category. How do you see the measurements now? Like, whatever is being tracked or KPI. Which KPIs do you think are, maybe way too much overvalued, and which ones are way too, underestimated? Because these are legacy brands, right? They've been around for hundreds of years, but you are the new entrant comparatively. How do you see things differently?
Thank you for this question. So actually, our brand just saw Vietnam 2 years, and when we launched in the market, I think that my piece that we want to run in a brand platform. It's really like brand platform and AI platform for not just not for brand, and but also for the dealer. They can use that scale, or we can help the live stream platform with our business. We will review all the national moment in time for the selling around this country. And also for finally, we want to bring the true value for the community. But bring back what does it mean for the marketing effectiveness? Now, I think for the land side or renting, we not just stop at the KPI index, mean like awareness or engagement. We have to work very slowly. I mean like many stakeholders, like for the sales team, also work very closely with agency. And nowadays, I think brand team require a lot for the agency partner, mean like the sales, mean like somehow insight and expert for this industry. And also have the same picture with us, because now market moving very fast, and we have the pressure with AI. And I think it's not for the top time campaign, like for this, before we have the market campaign, right? 3 months or 1 year, and think, brand say a point, but now brand, I think about the platform and how it will scale big and drive the conversion back for the dealer, for the business index, and how we partner to bring the true value for customer. So I think just 2 points. The first, I think the platform, mean like for the live stream platform, AI platform, or sales platform, or event platform. And the second, we think how to, for this platform, we have to log in very closely with business performance. So I think it's not just about the marketing performance, also for business.
I would like to draw from your experiences now. So have you been ever misled by any KPI, or you were very passionately pursuing a KPI or a set of KPIs which entirely misled you, and if you learned anything out of it? We could start with you. You are loaded with KPIs right in your head. You could go further. Or Pablo.
I definitely had periods where I was chasing the number of live stream views passionately, or the number of likes on a post, and we could refresh all day to see how much it increased. I think we're more and more trying to have a conversation within Heineken to understand what really is the correlation between these inputs, KPIs, and that we can measure, and the longer term business or brand objectives. So yeah, I think that has significantly changed, and while you can feel really good about yourself for having a high number somewhere, it's becoming less and less meaningful if we're not delivering on the other KPIs. So actually we try to spend a lot of time to both on a more scientific basis to understand the correlation, but also just through iteration. Like we try things, we can see the input KPI increase, but do we also see an output KPI change? Or should we do different things to drive a different outcome? So that's actually why we're trying to shift the conversation.
I think in terms of metrics, I feel like as an industry we are gonna move forward measuring just legacy metrics that we do now. So I very much agree with what you have presented now. I think eventually at some point we'll stop when we measure impact of a successful media campaign. No longer will be like just reach or view or impression. Those metrics stay, relevant and important, but as there's so much disruption in AI within the human connection, and we look at how the brand want to connect with the consumer, I think eventually we will move forward measuring quality metrics more, rather than just measuring pain scale, gain scale, or just like the overall number of people that we can reach. We can show our visibility to, yeah.
So I think that in terms of the KPI measurement, so like if like someone of us like work for the MNC company, so KPI, the dashboard, the index is everywhere, and we cannot deny that we do not commit with the company KPI because like that's one of our mandatory. But I think it's from the marketing point of view, so we can like prioritize for the short term and the long term KPI, and it depends on the phase of the campaign to have the flexibility in terms of the KPI adjustment to make sure that in each of the phase we can deliver the right KPI for the right business objective. So at the end, so we can hit the KPI, but we do not miss the business objective and of course for the conversion. So for example, if we have the run the campaign, so I think this is one of the kind of the quite popular formula for everyone. In each of the campaigns, so we have the different phase, like for example in the pre-order phase, the launching phase, and the long tail phase. And each of the phase, so we have like one important KPI that we need to deliver. For example, in the first phase, when we have just launched the product, awareness, of course, that is one of the most important KPI. But when we come into the launch and then the sustain phase, of course, the conversion and purchase consideration is the most important. However, from the marketing point of view, so we need to make sure that whatever we do, so the most important KPI for example, the proud to own, the NDSA, and the brand index, the brand desirability, we should retain. Otherwise, so we will fall into the trap for the short-term KPI. And if, like for example, with the tech industry, like the mobile, if we just skew into the short-term KPI, of course, we will lose our retention for the loyalty customer.
Talking about AI, all of us are adopters of AI already, and I'll just bundle a couple of questions together. Firstly, where do you think it's really helpful, and where do you think it's just hogging the space? I mean, it's really not doing what it's expected to. And secondly, do you think it's really going to impact effectiveness, or it's just another productivity optimizer in your area of work?
So your question is mainline for the question mainline for effectiveness in what the matter? Yeah, the matter. The first is of course we do business, right? So the master effectiveness for the business objective first. But I think for the marketing, we think about how because what is different between marketing and sales? Our question is what's in the difference and what's in the KPI between marketing and sales? So just for me, very simple for marketing, how we convince and bring and build trust and bring our customer go to the event, visit the store, and how they browse when they choose us, and how big they build a community with our product. So the market mean like for the marketing, I think we will build what's our belief and what's our brand stand for, and build the brand of community and bring the true value for the customer and build it big in a long time. But for the business, we have to break it in many stages like this said before, for the awareness way and for the I call it because we have to bring customers to the event, bring to the dealer, or even in the online, how they say the booking or lead, right? So for us, how to understand them and bring the true value and address what they really want, care for. So this is my thing. And work very slowly with sales team and also our partner agency team. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, AI is an interesting topic. It's so much when it comes to AI. I think right now, someone who's working with a lot of AI product, I think there are things that AI can do better. Definitely, there are things that they are doing. So AI at the end of the day is a set of data that it goes in, trying to read the data, trying to understand the pattern, and then how to move forward with that, right? And I think as an advertiser, as a brand, it's important to kind of understand that because there's a lot of operational behind the scenes back end stuff that AI can do. So for example, right, I think AI can do really good with, really going and optimizing so many iterations, biddings when you're running campaigns. All these manual stuff that we spend a lot of time doing normally. So now AI can really help you to do a lot of these repetitive tasks. And yeah, that's how you would save time and go back to your point, but also help with productivity as well. Part of best effectiveness. But then also there's another layer of AI where we're seeing that maybe some brands are trying to use AI to try and work with messaging or creative, and I think that's also a good way to learn and to see how AI works. But at the end of the day, marketing is kind of like a human question, right? So we also, for anything creative or messaging, it's good to have like a human who does that. So I think AI will be operational. And yeah, just one more point. The thing about AI is that just like any new employees that you're onboarding your company, it takes time to learn, and you need to give it onboarding training, a lot of data to learn to eventually be effective. So I think it's another layer that as well that business should keep in mind, and that sometimes it maybe takes a bit of while for it to eventually become effective. But yeah, give it enough time and eventually will hopefully be perform well.
Yeah, I definitely think it will redefine decision making. And maybe two things where we see sort of initial opportunities and one the challenge. I think one is around market modeling. As you said, a lot of data to be used. And I think this is very exciting territory. We go from a place where we spent 6 months running an MMM, then getting the results and knowing maybe to optimize the media, but in that time the world had changed and moved on already. And becoming very generic in its advice to you, where now it can move more into foresight, for modeling and recommending for the future. And so that's, I think, one very interesting territory that we're already seen very strong results internally also. And the other one is on campaign development, optimization, media planning, revenue evaluation, where there's again a lot of data going on and too much complexity to handle for us, in all honesty. So yeah, there also I can see where there's going to be a lot of opportunities. But I think it's also not just about the AI, it's also about it forces you to redesign your ways of working in a more efficient way. So yes, it's the enabler and the amplification, but it's also very much about how do you connect the people working together on campaign development, or how do you connect systems and decision making on that. So it goes far beyond than just activating a program and start to run with it. Yeah, and lastly, I at this moment in time, for sure, I still don't see the opportunity yet in terms of really breakthrough creative. That is where it will become more and more generic. It will look the same, and that is actually where I think there's the power of humans to come up with original thinking, and that's ultimately the most important way to cut through.
So I think let's just build up based on the sharing from both. That's why AI is everywhere. We cannot deny, and all of our companies so use AI a lot. But I think that's the good of AI, so everyone knows. So it can have the productivity and can help us to make things more faster. But in the something that I think that AI need to learn more and cannot replace people in terms of the local design and the human touch. And from the brand point of view, so this just come from the brand, the marketer, our marketer.
One last question, and we'll make it really fast because we have the last 50 seconds. 5 things, I mean collectively, so everyone from each of you. One thing each that you were really stressed about a few years back, and now they don't matter at all. And things that you think are perhaps looking very important at the moment, but the pace at which marketing and the entire landscape is evolving, it would be less relevant or perhaps entirely worthless in years to come. So some things that you really lose sleep over right now, but will be absolutely material in times to come. I can tell you a decade back, right? We used to get paid a lot, and a lot of platforms have made a lot of money in acquiring fans. Fan acquisition campaigns used to run in a lot of markets. But now when you talk about it, you get laughed at. So something, maybe not as drastic, but something in that line. Anybody?
Definitely few. And impressions, I think that is probably something that we'll quickly move away from the moment we start to really understand the quality and the impact that it makes.
I think moving forward, something that will kind of be important is for marketer and for brands to just not look scale of a campaign of people how many people you're trying to reach, but also to really measure it down to the quality and actually show up to your consumer. Are they actually paying attention to you? Are they in the right stage of mind to reciprocate the message, rather than just purely reaching out and getting them to see your message, see your ads? Because AI will eventually help you to reach people in a very efficient way, easily. So the next step will be, I think, a lot of quality measurement and getting in touch and getting the human attention.
For me, I think that because now we have a lot of changing in the near future, and many things happen, and many things update, and I think the most lesson for me, it means like not what to do, it means like what not to do. Because we have to focus what is the most important and what is the distinctiveness for the customer, dealer, or salesman. So for the marketer, we have to tell each other what's enough to do. My lesson.
Okay, I think that's from my point of view for the marketing effectiveness, so just treating the first one, the consumer is always in the center of everything. So based on the consumer insight and consumer understanding, so that's the first thing that I always remember first. Second, coming to the way that we need to do the marketing activity or how we can shape the campaign, we can do the flexibility in terms of the timing, in terms of the channel complexity, and then the harmonize between all the business functions. And last one, in terms of the KPI measurement, of course, AI can help, but it's based on the last data. It can help help you to predict for the future, for the bold innovation idea or for the human touch. So in that situation, the marketer will be the center of that one to make decision. What is the right thing? What is the right message? And what is the right visual or everything related to the marketing story that you will deliver to your consumer to make sure that okay, the brand love still there and the retention is still there.
And we're out of time anyways, but thank you so much for sharing your views. It's good to get perspectives from different businesses and, different businesses in different life stage, in their business. Hope this was useful to all. I wish we had more time for questions, but I guess that won't be the case today. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you to our lawyer and thank you to our panelists. And